The process that we have put in place to convene a nominating convention was voted on by those Maine Democrats. And that vote passed with over 82% of the vote, which is a full endorsement of the direction that we are taking to replace this nominee. We are, of course, going to require folks to talk to Maine voters in some way that's going to qualify them to be our U.S. Senate nominee beyond just declaring their intent. What that will most likely look like is petition collection from Maine Democratic voters across the state.
Have you spoken to Senator Mitch McConnell since your conference?
No, I haven't.
How's he doing?
I have no idea. I have no idea how he's doing.
We should note the White House provided that audio to the news media. The MS Now has reached out to McConnell's office for comment. We have not heard back.
Look, was it yesterday that it seemed like everybody and their mother and the Republican Party apparatus had a 20-minute conversation with Mitch McConnell? Now, shout out to the staff and the comms people, because they're like, make sure you say it was good and he had good things to say. But is it true that people have been speaking to Senator McConnell? And I think that this matters for, one, because he's being paid by the taxpayers, but also, two, I just keep going back to the fact that on June 14th, he was hospitalized. He went to the hospital, and he has not missed a paycheck. He is getting the health care that he needs. And there are a lot of Americans across this country where that is not their reality and their situation.
Yeah, I agree.
And it should be.
I agree. And someone else who said it on our air is Barbara Boxer. I want to play what she said. I thought it was really poignant.
This is a public office. We don't work in the private sector. And you need to just get out there with the truth. And I am stunned at what has been going on. And I don't think that the people should stand for it.
I think just to start us off tonight, I want to level set, because I am proud of this table and I'm proud of the narrative of this show, because close to a year ago, we first warned.
We said he was going to steal the election, and people were like, y'all are being dramatic.
Chicken Little.
This is where we would end up. And so, having said that, it is also very, very important to hear a governor like Westmore, governor like Beshear, and others lean into this conversation, because it will be state officials, folks. At the end of the day, as a former state official, I can tell you, it will be state officials who are going to be the bulwark from the governor on down across the state against what this administration has already got in the works, let alone what they're planning to do next.
You know, it's interesting. Jack Smith was on our air last week, and he said that he was absolutely concerned about this. And I think that someone of his stature saying that just magnifies how important this issue is. You look at the list of things that we're going to talk to Mark Elias about today. You have stuff where the Trump administration is withholding funds that have been earmarked for counterterrorism until states adhere to what they want. It's blackmailing states. It's a racket. Yep. You have this idea that they're going to send local monitors into Michigan elections because they're uncomfortable with what's happening there. So you're starting to see them roll out all the things they want to do, which is a suppression tactic. Now, why are they doing that? Because where's he polling? In the 30s, right? In a free and fair election, this is a big Democratic win under what we know elections to be. The only way for that not to happen, for where we stand right now, is if they suppress the vote, and that's what they're trying to do.
I'm concerned about what people who believe the lie are willing to do. Same thing like the people who believe the big lie in 2020. I'm concerned about what people who believe this lie are willing to do this November and Novembers after that.
Yeah, no, look, I think you're exactly right. I mean, what we've seen is that Donald Trump has a progression that he goes through. He stakes out an unreasonable position. He raises the rhetoric around it. When that doesn't do what he wants it to do, he goes to court. When courts shut him down and he loses in court, then he escalates to further rhetoric and inspires his supporters to use extra legal methods. Now, if what I just described sounds like what happened in 2020, it is, right? Donald Trump attacked mail-in voting before the election. He attacked the election results afterwards. He went to court. When that didn't work, he then incited a violent insurrection. But, you could look at what he did with immigration through the same lens. He demonized migrants. He increased the rhetoric. Then there were court cases about, for example, him trying to send people out of the country to foreign gulags. And when that failed, you saw U.S. citizens being killed in the streets in places like Minneapolis. And so, I very much worry that this November, as we head towards these elections, Donald Trump doesn't have a plan B that is okay, lower costs, reach to the center. He doesn't have that. He's got only one plan, and that is, as I said, it is to make it harder for people to vote and easier for him to cheat. And what happens is, because it's really hard for him to pull that off, because the courts have not gone along with it in the past, when that fails, Simone, what you are left with is him escalating the rhetoric, and then we've seen what happens.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It is Thursday, 9 July. The year of our Lord 2026. Eric Metaxas, not going to have him on today. Remember, the day's the day that General Washington read the declaration to the troops, gathered them down at Bowling Green and the Battery, watching the elements of the British Expeditionary Force come with 32,000 combat troops and between 300 and 400 combatants and the entire Royal Navy. He read it to him getting ready for the fight that was going to commence in a couple of weeks, 250 years ago. We're going to cover all that. We have a truncated version today, just an hour of the War. We're going to go live to the evidentiary hearing, or essentially a grand jury that you're sitting in as the grand jury members of the trial of the assassination of the great Charlie Kirk. And so we'll turn that over today, and then we're going to be back at 5. It looks like we're during the time that we get at least a 10 or 15 minute break, and Wendy Patrick will come up, give it a summary of what's going on. But for those in the audience have been pretty vast watching this, which we think is quite important, because every day we toss to Charlie Kirk at the noon hour for the Charlie Kirk show. We still toss to the Charlie Kirk show, but we used to do it with the Charlie Kirk before he was assassinated out in Utah. We've got some of the war you just saw right there. They're starting to squirm before the release of information, declassified information regarding foreign involvement in the stealing of the interference and stealing of the 2020 election, and then whatever happens afterwards. I hope either we expedite the Save America Act. If you can't expedite it, my recommendation is you've got a national security emergency, and you should go, the President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief, has a obligation and a duty to protect the vote in November so it can't be stolen by these open border nullification project. Mandami, Newsom, Bass, the mayor of Chicago, Jacob Fry, and Waltz in Minnesota. You go on and on. The new Mecca for transgenderism, which is Seattle, because they're all flooding in there. You go to these cities, they are more about nullification than John C. Calhoun. And we know where that led. This is leading to the same place, folks, as sure as the turning of the earth. So you see MSNBC now, they're squirming and yammering. Squirm and yammer all you want. Get Mark Elias up there every day. Get Weissman up there every day. Every show. Do it. Bring it. Bring your best, because we're not stopping. We're not prepared to have any more elections stolen in this country. We're not prepared to have the invasion of this country with every foreigner in the world coming here and living off the American people. Should be no more. It should be a 10-year hiatus minimum on all quote-unquote legal or would I say the con and the scam immigration and then mass deportations. Saw Mike Howe yesterday in the great photos, Mike Howe rolling around the Capitol, making people's heads blow up with the panel truck that had about mass deportations, had warroom.org on the side of it. The Mass Deportation Coalition is it's the fastest thing I've seen grown here since the Tea Party. People are signing up. You should go over to their website right now because this is a fight. We got to get back to basics. The president's been shown false data, bad information. Yesterday, I was honored to join Tony Lyons in this Make America Healthy Again call that takes place every Wednesday. I want to make sure we're going to start putting it up on our own sites on Getter and Rumble and all these other platforms, which comes to, 15 million people, 15 million eyes. We're going to start putting it up because it's a fascinating, and we'll start getting folks on the War Room. It's a fascinating conversation every week. And I just joined to say, hey, look, they came out to kind of handcuff Bobby Kennedy and handcuff Make America Healthy Again, which is a coalition partner. The power of Make America Healthy Again is that it's a grassroots movement. That's why there was such a nice, easy fit from the very beginning. The concerned mothers about the education policies, what they saw their kids doing, the pandemic, what they saw about the vaccines, what they saw about everything dealing with Fauci, the Children's Health Alliance, Children's Health Defense, Mary Holland and the team. We had them on, Naomi, all these people. It was a natural fit, wasn't it? Why? Because they're grassroots powered. That's why they're a perfect fit with Make America Great Again, which is more in the economic nationalism and obviously the invasion of the country and all these issues, but they blend together, and we have to have their back. And some of the political people around President Trump are showing him false data. How do I know that? We had Jeffrey Tucker did the dominant poll to say by 2/3 majority, the American people support what President Trump and Bobby Kennedy are doing and Make America Healthy Again. That's why in this run-up to this election, because here's the theory of the case on the election. Because of redistricting and the fight that we led with Alex DeGrasse and others, the grassroots in Texas, not the political staff of the White House, that's just BS. We were here in 22 and did the pick and show work. I don't want to hear it. They're the political geniuses over there. All they do is piss away money. They've got the president so wrapped around the axle on his policies with giving false data that it's an open secret in town. The small dollar donors have dried up to nothing, to zero. Why? And we know there can be enthusiasm. Look at Texas. Look at Virginia. If you show people there's a program and here's the program, here's what we're going to do, and we're going to hit our marks, the MAGA movement will come out. They'll come out in droves. Just ask John Cornyn about that. Look at the redistricting in Virginia. Ryer, the chairman of the GOP, Delois Stallman, and all these great grassroots leaders in the Commonwealth of Virginia that rally people with no money. With no money. I mean, Spicer's sitting there going, it's amazing what can happen when the grassroots is involved. But we got to get our mind right. We're in for a fight, and we're in for the fight, really the political fight of the MAGA movement in a midterm election when obviously the propensity to vote is much lower. You saw what's happening. And listen, what happened to the Tea Party, Plattner's he's not a good guy. He's actually a very bad guy. But his economic message, and look, he's a socialist. But the Democratic Party is controlled more by donors than even the Republican Party. They're controlled by oligarchs, that want to destroy the culture of this American republic. That's the dark money in back of Mandani. That's what came in and tried to, they said...
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it.
I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast, like a roast, like a gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness. A reflection of the emptiness, hilarious. You think you're worth my time?
Next in the War Room.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, I want to thank, in this kind of truncated shows we're doing this week because of the Charlie Kirk assassination coverage, I want to thank Birch Gold. Take your phone out. They've got a special that's going to run through tomorrow. A 1 ounce silver round with a qualifying purchase. Take your phone out. Text Bannon at 989898. Talk to Philip Patrick and the team today about what a qualifying purchase is. Might also want to ask them about, hey, can I get some free information that has no obligation to it to understand why gold has been a hedge for, 5,000 years of man's history? Check it out today. Also, the great folks down in Texas, 972-PATRIOT, Patriot Mobile. Call it right now. By the way, if you want to, go have a prayer session. They'll pray with you. This is a Christian company with Christian values. Jenny and Glenn Story, the best. 2 hammers. Grassroots Energy, 972-PATRIOT. Find out why. Talk to the customer service. Find out what's the best phone service in America. Check it out today. The Red Green Alliance, who's talked about the first, War Room over at Breitbart. Trevor Loudon, these team, Frank Gaffney, everybody. It's not perfect, right? Got some little boomer in there, but it's a threat. It's a threat to this nation right now. We got to get very serious about this war in the Middle East. I mean, here's how serious. Wrap it up. Economic warfare. Scott Bessent, don't give him any more license to sell oil. Never again. Don't do it. That was a mistake. I know it wasn't your mistake, but it was a mistake. Don't do it. No oil. No oil to the Chinese Communist Party. No cash money to the Persians. No $6 billion to buy our foodstuffs. We'll find the farmers out in Iowa and Nebraska find somebody else to sell it to. No cash. Let them go hungry. They won't be dancing in the streets like they were last Saturday, 5 million of them. Does that lack empathy? Yes, it does, because I don't have empathy. Right now, we're in a war. We're in a shooting war. We have young Americans in harm's way in the Middle East. It's time to wrap that crap up and bring it home. It's a sideshow, and the Israel project is a sideshow to a sideshow. Israel, we can't merge the defense budgets. We can't merge the defense industrial base. We can't do any of it. Israel is a sovereign country. If they don't want to be a vassal state, and I know they hate when I say that, but hey, if you don't want to be a vassal state and a protectorate, and you want to go and you want to march to Beirut, you want to march to Damascus, which President Trump just took off the terrorist list. If you want to march to Tehran, march, go for it. You're a sovereign nation, tough people. IDF, you got tough hombres over there. March, get General Keane, give him a field promotion, get Mark Levin, get that big mouth in the front tank. He talks a big game. Why ain't he over there fighting? Has his family ever fought? Don't think so. Don't think so, homie. Don't think so. Get in the front tank and go for it. Now's the time. We're coming home. We are coming home. And right now, politically, if you don't get that message, once again, you're reading bad data. And just think of who lied to you. Who lied to the commander-in-chief? Lied. Who lied to the commander-in-chief? Who gave him misrepresentation and bad information? They didn't fall in 5 days with strategic bombing. And General Kane and Admiral Cooper, the American military delivered. Hammer blow. The denuclearization, you went for total obliteration in June of last year, and everybody thinks you did it. Don't know why you had to go back, but hey, even in going back those first couple of days, like you said, it's buried under a mountain of rubble. Enough said. You've done your duty. You've denuclearized. If they ever start getting fancy, send them back over and bomb again. Nobody cares. But bring everybody home. In war, constancy is important. Jim Rickards, we got a massive election, and if we lose this, folks, trust me, the Trump revolution is going to come to a grinding halt because Jamie Raskin's already prepared to send, 5 million subpoenas like day one. The White House is going to be Fort Apache. It doesn't have to be like that. We can serve in the House, and I think now with the Plattner chaos, I think we can hold the Senate. It's going to be tough, and you got to get enthusiasm and the grassroots only. The grassroots, not the corporate donors, not the RNC fat cats. They run for the hills. Not where's all your tech bros? Where's the tech bros? Now that you're talking about, read Axios, I put the story up. Now that you're talking about President Trump is very involved in putting in some sort of rudimentary regulatory apparatus, because as President Trump said, I think we need some safeguards for this. You know why? Because he's seen these guys, looked them in the eyes. He knows these oligarchs are dangerous. On the spectrum, dangerous. You don't see them running in the Oval Office anymore. You don't see it. Because they're all left-wing progressives, all of them. Jim Rickards, I've asked you to come on today and change it up. We're going to have you, and I really appreciate you coming on, Jim, for one reason.
Sure.
You've had a series of called shots, right? When I get you and Sam Faddis, these graybeards on here, you guys are just giving the best information. Give us your assessment, sir, particularly the complexity of what you're so good at strategic intelligence of that intersection of geopolitics, national security, military strategy, and good old politics here in the United States of America, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, let me spend a couple minutes on Iran, and then we'll pivot to domestic electoral politics in the midterm. So I was checking the news this morning, and the Telegraph, which is a great UK paper, I like them because they publish my op-eds, but they had a big headline story. It said, Trump has three choices: surrender, stalemate, or escalate. And I thought, where have I heard that before? We've been saying that on your show for 3 months, basically. Those are the past. Now, that's a good framework for analysis, but it begs the question, okay, which one of those are you actually going to do? And they all have problems. Now, surrender, withdrawal, retreat, some kind of paper it over, whatever it takes, get home, exactly what you were just saying, is the best path, and then just get working full time on the elections. Stalemate won't work. It worked for a short period of time, but the world would run out of energy if you don't reopen the Strait of Hormuz one way or the other, with tolls or without tolls. You're going to start shutting down a big part of the industrial economy. So that's a temporary fix, but not sustainable. And the third one is escalate. It won't work, but it has its attractions. My view that I'm not in favor of this, but just as an analyst, I would say, if you want to escalate, forget about blowing up bridges and radar stations and all that. Go get the highly enriched uranium. I mean, it would take division strength, meaning 10,000 troops, security perimeter, special operations, all the intelligence you can get. It would take a lot, and there would be casualties. And by the way, easy for me to say, I'm not jumping out of a helicopter, but that's one way to kind of end this once and for all. But I do think the retreat or escalation, or sorry, the surrender path is the best one. But here's the problem: Iran won't let Trump do it. As Trump actually was going down that road, but then all it takes is Iran, firing missiles at a couple of oil tankers. Now, can they physically close the strait? Can they interdict every vessel? Do they have that kind of? No, they don't. But they don't have to. All they have to do is, once a week or twice a month, blow up a couple of tankers, and that's enough. If you own the vessel, you're not sending it through, no matter what CENTCOM says. So there's kind of no good way out here. The best way out is to basically, as you say, get out. I agree with that, and then go. But
hang on. But you with economic warfare, look, we had them on their knees in January. This is why hundreds of thousands, not millions, took to the streets. Now 40,000 got killed, supposedly, right? But that's the way to bring them to the knees. The surrender, the option of getting out doesn't mean surrender. It means take care of the objectives you've got. Now, I will tell you, if we go down the route of what you say, put a division in, not only have we ended the Trump movement for eternity, we've ended the Republican Party for eternity. The American people are not going to tolerate that. I think there would be an overwhelming 90% of people go, whoa, no way, baby. We were in Iraq and Afghanistan for 20 years, $9 trillion, 10,000 dead. That's just the military, not even the contractors, right? 50,000. You go on any street in America, you got homeless. So you got to thread the needle here, but that's where you need constancy and kind of message. But look, to me, Jim, help me out here. The mullahs aren't going to listen until you hit them upside the head with something more than a bomb, because they don't care how many people die, and they don't even care how many mullahs die. They get it, but get tens of thousands of mullahs. These are Persians. They've been doing this against the Greeks and the Romans forever. In fact, we're going to have the head of the Hellenic Council on next to talk about Turkey and the whole region as the Greeks see it, because they've been fighting this thing for 3,500 years. So your plan of I don't call it surrender, but a let's get the hell out smartly, having accomplished our objectives, sir. Your thoughts?
Right. But Steve, you said we had them on their knees 3 months ago. We had them on their knees in 2012. I mean, the guy who was actually good at this was Obama. Now, Obama threw in the towel too early and signed a lousy deal. But his conduct of financial warfare, and that's what I did at the CIA for 10 years. I was a financial warfare was my specialty, and I spent a lot of time with the Treasury and the Fed and the other branches of government. Scott Besson is just the guy to do this. But go behind the curtain into the international payment system, the dollar system, which still rules.
Yes,
Forget this, devaluation trade and all that stuff. The dollar is still king of the hill, and strangle them financially. You're right. No Iranian oil on the market.
But
no Iranian
as soon as Scott, Jim, as soon as Scott started doing that and we got traction, next thing you know, we signed an MOU. The MOU was retarded, okay,
Yes.
on every level. To give them any access to their cash, they ain't got any cash. We're sweeping that cash. Now the reconciliation bill is $350 billion, okay? 88 to $100 billion, that is what it's cost us. First off, all 50 billion they've got that we can get our hands on is our money. They caused this thing. That's our money. We shouldn't give them a penny. I don't care if they go hungry. They go hungry, they're going to get surly. If they get hangry, maybe they'll be overthrowing some mullahs, which is what we need. We don't need them dancing in the street, singing Death to America at some funeral. We need them out there saying, hey, my belly's not full, mullah. Where am I going to eat? Shut the whole thing down economically. We're the most powerful economic force, and we control the SWIFT system, right? We control the dollar. Just do it. Not one drop of oil to the CCP. What are we doing here? We're letting the CCP get her choke down the CCP at the same time. When she comes over here in September, let him be a supplicant. Let him be a supplicant. Hey, pretty please, can I get some more? Anyway, Rickards, hang on for 1 second, right? I took your mic and started ranting. You triggered me, man. You got me rolling here. Jim Rickards, Strategic Intelligence. We're also going to Greece. Are they taking the greatest legend in the West and turning it into a transgender propaganda?
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Rickards, the floor is yours. I took your mic yelling and screaming like a madman because my next guest is actually the executive director of the Hellenic American Leadership Council. I've got so much. It gets me so worked up. Our forefathers in Greece and in Rome been dealing in this neighborhood for 3,000 years. Let's take some lessons from them, okay? Because nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. Nothing. Jim Rickards, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Steve, you're exactly right about financial warfare. It's far more powerful than people realize. You have to know how to do it. There's a lot to it, but that can definitely be done. That's what we should do. So let's get to that. But I just want to pivot for a second from Iran, everything we just discussed, to the midterm elections. And believe it or not, they're very strongly linked. So here's the most important data in terms of the midterm elections. 1 year ago, gasoline prices, this is national average regular, so not diesel, high test, or anything else, was $3.16 a gallon. Today, it's $3.84 a gallon. And 2 months ago, at the height of the war and the shortages and all that, it was $4.50 a gallon. Now, the Democrats will say, hey, prices are higher, they're 22% higher than they were a year ago. And that's true. That's somewhat how the American people think about it. American people don't walk around with long-term price charts in their heads. They ask themselves one question: is it going up or is it going down? Well, in the last month, it's come down 15%. It's gone from 450 to 384. And the American people say, okay, it's still a little high, got it, but it's coming down. They'll give you credit for that. They'll say, all right, keep it going. And I say, as an analyst, if I know it, the Iranians know it. Part of what they're doing, they're trying to get the price of gas at the pump. Believe it or not, talk about election interference. They're trying to get the price of the gas at the pump up again, because they know that'll beat the Republicans in the midterms. Then you'll have Jeremy Raskin, you'll have impeachment, you'll have wealth confiscation, all the rest. We don't, I think the viewers are very familiar with the DSA communist program, et cetera. By the way, you're going to have 12 outright communists plus the squad in Congress come January. That's almost a foregone conclusion. So the key is you got to get the price of gas, keep it coming down. It doesn't have to get to a year ago. It just has to come down. American people will give you credit for that. Just do whatever it takes, and that's the best advice I can give the Republicans.
I want to have you back on. I'll talk to you today, but I want to have you back on next week. I want to break this thing, maybe Saturday or over the week, to break this down in more detail because you've given great guidance so far. Where do people go? Strategic intelligence, you've had a special, people getting access to this now and love it. What do you got for us?
Thanks. Yeah, I talked to my team yesterday. They said, this is the good news. We're going to extend our 4th of July offer. So we have this special offer, $17.76. So $17.76 for strategic intelligence. You get 3 months for that price. And then you have 30 days. If you don't like it, you can cancel, full money back guarantee, no problem. And you can keep all the bonus reports. But for $17.76, the landing page is rickardsintel.com. rickardsintel.com. But that's where you go to get the special offer. This is the cheapest it's ever been, and we love the 1776 handle. By the way, the special reports, the bonus reports you get with this are about what we call the American birthright. It's basically the Trump administration opening up federal lands, drilling, exploration, Gulf of America, oil, etc., and how investors can participate in that. And so 1776, rickardsintel.com.
Brother, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Go check it out. 1770. You can't go wrong. You're paying $18 basically for 3 months of a great newsletter. You'll fall in love with it. But if you don't like it, you get to Jim. He'll give you your money back. Andy Zemanides. Is that how I pronounce the last name?
Close enough. Zemanides.
Okay. You're Greek. It sounds like you're Greek. You're executive director of the Hellenic American Leadership Council. I want you on here for a couple of things, and we're going to hold you through the break already. I can tell that. Number one, the Greeks been doing this with the Persians for a long time, correct?
That's right, and they got a great record. President Trump should have tapped in and should have tagged in the Greeks.
If it wasn't for you guys standing tall against overwhelming odds for some bad hombres, and these people are tough, we wouldn't have democracy as we know it today, correct?
Yes, I mean, clearly there's a lot of literature and studies about this, and we can go back to the original source. But if it wasn't for the Battle of Salamis, and then the Spartans at 300 buying time for the rest of the Greeks to regroup, there would have been no West as we know it.
Go tell the Spartans, as we say, right? So what's the lesson? Give me the lesson that the White House, President Trump, National Security Council, our audience, what should be, if the Greeks were to give us, if we go back in time and they were to give us both a warning and guidance, what would it be, sir?
Yeah, I would go to look to a singular figure that a lot of people don't talk about. They talk about Leonidas and they talk about Alexander the Great when it comes to the Persians, but I would look to Themistocles. Themistocles knew when the Athenians had won the Battle of Marathon that the Persians were going to come back with greater force, and he put the city on course to build the triremes, to build these ships. And that's what those ships saved Western civilization. And that's the lesson, that lesson in strategy and forethought, because it's really disheartening that we're getting checked in the Strait of Hormuz. America is the greatest naval power of all time.
Yes.
And we didn't think of how somebody with some cheap technology and drones, and we also have to be thinking of their pirates. And what's horrible about this is what are the lessons that the Chinese are learning. If the Iranians can do to this and the Straits of Hormuz, what can the Chinese, who have significantly better technology, anti-access and area denial weaponry, do to us in the South China Sea? So we have to think strategically. We shouldn't be thinking of, we could just throw some force, because we're not going to put troops, we're not going to put boots on the ground. There's no reasoning for putting boots on the ground. And so we should be looking to Themistocles.
By the way, absolutely brilliant. Matt Boyle told me you were brilliant, but man, Matt Boyle nailed it. That is one of the most intelligent things that's been said in the war room in a long time. And we're going to get some information up so the war room posse can immerse themselves in it. But thinking strategically, it's a little bit changed because Islam kind of came to, and conquered the great civilizations of Egypt, Babylon and Persia and the Turks. So now we face the same cats, right? The same dudes, and it's the same exact thing, except now they've got a kind of a fanatical religion that drives them. And you've got Erdogan, and I realize President Trump's close to Erdogan. He respects Erdogan. And Erdogan, look, he's a powerful guy. But you saw in that, when President Trump arrived, and we didn't have time because of Charlie's trial to show it. I will show it Saturday over the weekend. It was, who's preached this gospel? They did this film about, going around following me, and I kept saying, Erdogan is going to turn the Turks back to the Ottoman Empire. He wants to caliphate. He wants to control the two holy cities of Mecca and Medina, just like they did before Lawrence in Arabia in World War I. That's his mission. President Trump shows up. It's like the Ottoman Empire, right? It's like Ataturk never arrived. Erdogan, this is his mission in life before he goes. You've been one of the most stalwart nations in having our back, right? And you bring all these ancient lessons. The dangerous neighborhood of the Eastern Mediterranean, particularly with the Turks, their involvement in NATO, but particularly now, we're taking sanctions off, and I'm a sanctions guy. We're taking sanctions off and discussing selling the F-35. Your thoughts? What do the Greeks think about that, sir?
Well, so I think it's what you said. The closer Athens and Washington have been they've been on the same side of every conflict. As we celebrate our 250th birthday here in the United States, we got our founding fathers looked to the ancient Greeks for inspiration for our democracy. So, and Greece has always hit its NATO targets. Greece has given the U.S. major basing rights that the U.S. capabilities, both in Ukraine and in the Middle East, would have been different if it weren't for the basing rights they have in Greece. What you described, absolutely correct on Erdogan, and even worse, because it's not only he wants to bring back, in his eyes, what was the glory of the Ottoman Empire, he marries it with 20th century political Islam. Erdogan is the leader presently of the Muslim Brotherhood in the Middle East, and we're seeing it in Syria. We're seeing it with his sponsorship of Hamas. We're seeing it with what he's doing elsewhere in the region, in Libya. What his previous tension with Egypt was about the Muslim Brotherhood, but he thinks the Ottoman Empire was great. Here, let's quote this. After the U.S. recognized the Armenian genocide, after Israel recognized the Armenian genocide, here's an Erdogan quote. Turkey's history is free from genocide, massacres, oppression, and colonialism. That's just objectively not true. It was a colonial power. There was a 30-year genocide. There wasn't just one day an Armenian genocide. There was a 30-year genocide that killed over 1 million Armenians, Christians, Assyrians. If somebody wants to go look at it, they can go find what the Christian population of Turkey was at the turn of the century, at the end of the Ottoman Empire, and what it is today. And that's continuing. You have the spiritual head of the Orthodox Church, a worldwide Orthodox Church, the Ecumenical Patriarch in Constantinople. He's denied religious freedom. Okay, he has no legal status. Erdogan calls him the Bishop of Constantinople. He has to get his travel checked by the Turkish government. The theological seminary remains closed for 50 years. They're slowly wiping out the Ecumenical Patriarchate. He's occupying the northern third of Cyprus, where that was the site of the first Christian mission, St. Paul and Barnabas, landed in Cyprus. Lazarus is buried in Cyprus, and they're slowly wiping out Christianity in its historic homelands. We should not play long. And unfortunately, we have an ambassador, a U.S. ambassador, Tom Barrack there, who speaks glowingly of the Ottoman past. And that's really working against both our values and our
Barrack's one of my best friends. He's a good man, but he's a Phoenician. He's down there. This thing. That's why, by the way, that's why we got to unite. And I love Tom Barrack. He's a great man. But, and this is, you see Bibi's out looking for another war. We need to get our partners in that region. And we need to think this through. Our folks, when the balloon goes up in the Eastern Med, in the Balkans, in Turkey, and Greece, in these islands, you ain't putting that flame out. We're trying to extract ourselves from the Middle East. If this thing goes up, you're not putting this one out for 50 years, right? And this is what I'm saying. It's a tinderbox over there right now. Hang over a second, Andy. I'm going to hold you through the break. I want to have you on. We're going to drill down more on geostrategy when I have you back on. But in the next segment, we talk about the classical West, one of the greatest of all of our foundational myths, the war at Troy, the Trojan War, and the generals of the Greeks and the Trojans, and both Aeneas and Ulysses. Aeneas went on a journey and founded Rome. Ulysses would not be denied going home. We have a totally woke version of that coming to an IMAX theater near you. So be warned, as we're going to do here in the War Room. Short commercial break. Back in a moment.
Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
This is one of the more recent translations, really pretty excellent, by Emily Wilson, a classicist. I think she's at the University of Pennsylvania. Yes, University of Pennsylvania, classics professor, of a adventure story like no other. Andy, how important is Homer in the Iliad and the Odyssey as the foundational myth of the origin story of the West, sir?
Listen, I have a problem that we've gotten away from the classics. We used to have these great book series, and we're lucky if we can get comic book versions. You hold up an excellent translation. Emily Wilson, she did the translation of the Odyssey. She also did a couple of years ago a translation of the Iliad. And I know it's easier to make everything an HBO show or a movie, but man, the fact that people are not reading these books anymore, and there's even great novel versions of this. Madeline Miller did the novel version of Circe. We can go back to the old Mary Renault books, Stephen Pressfield. Since you're talking about the Persians, every one of your listeners, everybody in your audience should go buy The Gates of Fire. I read that. Stephen Pressfield is one of, and in fact, I think when Admiral Stavridis did the book, Leaders Bookshelf, the top military officers and the top junior officers all recommended that people who want to be leaders read The Gates of Fire. So there's ways to immerse oneself in the classics by picking up a book. And we've become in America that, more than 50% of incoming college freshmen haven't read a book cover to cover. We need people to start picking up books again.
Have never read a book cover to cover in their life.
In their life.
Now, here's the amazing
it's insane.
Here's the amazing thing about this. When you read the Iliad or the Odyssey, in the stanzas and the beauty and how it fits together and the battle scenes and humanity, right? You have to remember, this was all from memory. This is oral tradition, is it not? Homer, whoever Homer was. It's oral, folks. Remember, their memories, they trained them like computers. This is all from memory. We write it down, but the original stories were all oral, correct?
Yeah. Homer is a great storyteller, and the ancient Greeks were great storytellers. There was Homer, who did these epic poems. There was something that's really, since we were talking about geostrategy, Thucydides, Herodotus. And there's timeless lessons in there, and we can Aeneas, as you said, Virgil, Seneca. There's some timeless. Plutarch.
The reason I say that, Lincoln had a version of the King James version of the Bible, the Old and New Testament. He had the plays and sonnets of Shakespeare, and he had Plutarch's lives of the noble Greeks and Romans. Yeah. And the way it's originally written, which is so powerful, anybody today, any kid today, pick up these moral lessons because what he did the Greek, and he did the counterpart to the Roman.
Yes.
About how the societies were different, and you read it and you understand. You really start to understand the West. You start to understand the underpinnings of the West. And this is why Greece has so much to teach us now in the lessons of Greece, in the lessons of Rome. Hey, you know who believed that 250 years ago? The founders of this nation. They've really been,
exactly
they studied Greece, and they studied the Roman Republic in excruciating detail for the lessons.
Yeah,
and that would come even further on the foundation of the country. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. There's a book people can go. There's another book people can read about. Thomas Ricks wrote a great book called First Principles, and you see how they were exactly looking to that ancient wisdom, not hero worship, but ancient wisdom, saying these are the principles we were founded on. These are also the mistakes they made. They tried to avoid mistakes. Our founders were good enough to say, yeah, maybe that direct democracy that the ancient Athenians did was way unchecked. Let's make it a republic. So if we don't know the mistakes people made, not only the successes, the mistakes people made in the past, there's that famous quote, those who do not know their history are condemned to repeat it.
That's why, and Andy, if I can hold you through, the court has not started yet. We don't have the slate, so maybe a few minutes at the beginning we're able to do this. At the very beginning of the war, I think it was, we were doing the Saturday and Sunday show for, the first 4 weeks. On one of the Saturdays, I think it's Aaron's history of Alexander the Great. And I focused on Alexander, the generals having that war council when they got into India and they saw the elephants. And they said, hey, boss, I kind of think we've come far enough. maybe, North Africa, Egypt, we kind of like that. Maybe we should reverse course and get back to something that's a little more, we don't have these war elephants coming at us. And so when they went back, guess where they went? They went right along the North Arabian Sea, right along the Gulf of Oman, right past Hormuz, exactly yard for yard where we're bombing today, right? And guess what? It was, you read that, and I told the audience, you read it, it's a hellhole. I mean, it's so tough and so brutal. And this was Alexander the Great's unbeatable army. And by the time he got past Karg Island and got to Babylon, Alexander the Great was gone in 6 months. Okay. Now, was he poisoned or he just died of exhaustion? History doesn't know. Andy, can you hang on? We're going to take a short commercial break. We've got the evidentiary hearing. It's going to start in Provo, Utah. I know people are following this quite closely. You are the grand jury audience, right? The participation's been amazing. Of course, Wendy Patrick will be covering throughout the day, and we will be back at 5 o'clock, and it'll probably be a 15 or 20-minute break if it holds up, and we'll get Wendy on there. The Grace and Mo will be anchoring today at 5. We've got some, meetings we have to attend in the afternoon. Want to thank our sponsors who have been so forgiving all week, particularly Birch Gold, Home Title Lock, everybody. Really want to thank them. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Steve or /Steve. You get access to their 250th, the celebration of the nation's founding, the birth of the greatest nation on earth. 25% off for a 2-year deal of $1 million triple lock protection. Don't let artificial intelligence and cyber, the combo, get into your home title, because 90% of your net worth is typed in. Every dream you've ever had is in that home. Make sure it doesn't get turned into a nightmare. Short commercial break. We'll be back in the war room in just a moment.
We're united.